Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Bitcoin Bridge, where we discuss the world of BSV and its global potential. Now, every person's journey into the world of digital assets is different, and for some, that journey leads right to the BSV blockchain, into realizing BSV's potential and, what sets it apart from other systems. Today on the show, we've got Sina Nazari, a fund analyst from blockchain investment firm Unbounded Capital, and he's going to tell us all about his journey and what he's learned about the value of the BSV blockchain. But before we start, just a reminder to subscribe to the CoinGeek channel and hit that notification bell so you don't miss any future episodes of the Bitcoin Bridge and our fabulous other shows on the CoinGeek channel. Sina, welcome to the Bitcoin Bridge and welcome to the world of BSV. Good to have you on the show.
Hi, John. Good to be interviewed by you as well. And thank you so much for having me today.
Now, if I'm not mistaken, you're one of the newest analysts at Unbounded Capital, which is a company that's pretty familiar to everyone who's been in BSV for a while. But when did you actually join?
I joined Unbounded Capital a few months ago as an intern and now full-time as an analyst. I would be happy to explain to you the process for joining and how it was that I joined Unbounded Capital if you wish.
I would absolutely love you to tell us all about that. So, first of all, did you come to the BSV world with a prior experience in what they call crypto, digital assets, blockchain, and that kind of thing?
Yeah, I had founded my own company called Quick Payments a few years back. And as a startup, it did not succeed as much as we wanted to. And then later, I started learning my own programming based on blockchain. And I was working at a fund of funds when I met Unbounded Capital. And from there, we slowly started the process of me joining Unbounded Capital.
Did you start off in the Bitcoin world in BTC like a lot of people, or did you come via somewhere else?
I started with blockchain in 2016 or 2017, and at the time, a lot of the focus in Toronto was on Ethereum, and so I first started with Ethereum more than Bitcoin. Though I'd heard about Bitcoin before I'd heard about or BTC before I'd heard about Ethereum and so on. So I would say I started with Ethereum more than Bitcoin itself.
Right, right. And how did you come across Unbounded Capital?
So I was working at a fund of funds, and uh, at the fund of funds, I was really in charge of allocating the capital of the fund, and I was interviewing many funds. One of over 50 funds whom I interviewed was Unbounded Capital. I met Zach Resnick, the managing partner at Unbounded Capital, and
That's right.
Zach told me to review some of the ebooks or some of the materials that they provided to the public, and I slowly started reading those materials, and I got interested in it, and I started thinking, oh, BSV will actually be this great thing that will be very different from the rest of the blockchains, and it's more lawful, it's more scalable. Everything about it looks like it's better for building companies on top of. Doesn't face some of the challenges that we faced with Ethereum when we were building Click Payments on top of Ethereum. And so I slowly started getting this vibe that BSV ecosystem should be a good ecosystem to enter. Then I slowly emailed Zach and I asked him, if I could join his fund because, that was the fund that I knew was working with BSV. And Zach told me that there was an internship opportunity available for me, and I joined the fund and I evaluated the environment of the fund, and we decided that it was a right opportunity for me and for Unbounded Capital.
Excellent, yeah. So you went from payments to investments and fund management. That's kind of not an unnatural progression, but it's an interesting one. I think your background's more in, say, data science and that kind of thing, isn't that right?
Well, my most recent background is in data science, meaning, when I decided that I wanted to be a little bit more technical with programming and a little bit more technical with data science. I taught myself the skills I needed to in order to work as a data scientist um, or as a programmer if I needed to. Uh, and that was because if I wanted to launch another startup like Click Payments, I wanted to be able to do it on my own, if needed, if ever needed. And that the progression from payments to venture capital is a little bit more straightforward when you look at the fact that the ultimate goal of all these blockchains is in order to have their tokens as payments methods. And we started there not looking at the fact that the velocity that these coins are taking is very slow,
Yeah.
meaning, they're not really being used for payments, they're being used as investment vehicles. And or speculation vehicles or custody vehicles. And well, it's very natural that the fund that I joined for investments is BSV, which is a fund that is Unbounded Capital that works with BSV, which is a blockchain that allows for unlimited scale and for the world of payments to actually take place right now. So my personal thesis is still very payment centric in a sense.
Right.
And the world of investments is a great place. It's a great alternative to being an entrepreneur because in the world of investments, you get plenty of ideas, you provide plenty of support to a lot of ideas, a lot of entrepreneurs uh, whom you could be a part of their journey and be a part of their success story. And that's why I thought, the world of investments is a better match for my personality as opposed to focus on one project at a time.
What do you think of the BSV industry so far? Are you impressed by some of the startups and companies you've seen there, and personalities as well?
I've really been impressed by the fact that, for a company like TDXP
Yep.
is building a complete, I wouldn't even know what to call it, a stock trading or not even stock trading, securities trading platform. And the reason I say this is because the opportunity that BSV brings for these payments is unmatched anywhere in the world. There is not a single place elsewhere that we could have all these trades take place in the same place. So I'm very excited about TDXB. I'm very excited about some of the other portfolio companies of Unbounded Capital, Handcash being one of them. They have amazing technology. Um, but that I'm very excited about the BSV ecosystem as a whole because it's being built on value and it's not being built on hype or per se, say VC money or investment money, but rather true value is being made in the ecosystem.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty good point about the hype because, obviously when you say Bitcoin to people, they're only thinking about BTC. Everyone in the mainstream media is only talking about BTC, and it's very hard to start from that point and then come and tell everyone that, like, okay, we love this stuff. We love Bitcoin, we love blockchain, but don't listen to all that crap about BTC because they've got it all wrong. Um, how do you how did you see through all of that?
I slowly looked up BSV and its history, and first thing I looked at was, oh, it was a fork out of Bitcoin.
Yeah.
And at that point, I thought, well, BSV, a fork out of Bitcoin, aren't there so many greater projects right now with greater technology than Bitcoin? But that I slowly realized that Bitcoin was way ahead of its time. BSV was way ahead of its time. And Now, one theme that's become common to me in my career is that everyone can see 2 inches above their head and 2 inches below their head, but they can't see something that's outside the reach of their imagination.
Yep.
And so it looks like BSV or Bitcoin was outside the reach of people's imagination at the time it was launched in 2008 or 2009. And so slowly during my research, I slowly started to learn that BSV was the original Bitcoin protocol. It's got so much more capabilities than BTC does right now. Uh, and that it's a Turing complete machine. It's a Turing complete programming tool. And slowly I learned that BSV is the complete solution for all blockchain needs. And uh, I'm glad that the blockchain has gone into a path where there's other alternatives right now, but I think it will all come back to BSV in the future, and BSV will be the main place where blockchain applications are built and the main place where blockchain transactions take place.
Yeah, I certainly think so too. It may take a while, and that sort of leads me to another question I had, which is how fast does BSV have to move? I hear a lot of people say, "Oh, if we don't move fast and get that market share away from the other blockchains right away, like within the next 12 months, then we're going to be long-term losers because they will have the network effect." Do you think there's any truth in that, or do you think that we can take our time, just build that value and new economy slowly instead?
I think we can take our time, and well, the slower we move, the slower the rest of the blockchain ecosystem is going to be convinced that BSV is the right protocol to be investing in. And in other words, the more money they're going to be wasting in the wrong places.
Yeah.
And that does also mean that there's going to be growth in the other places, but that the growth will never be able to match what BSV can do, say, a few years from now. What BSV can do is take its time, develop real value, real micropayments, innovations, even cloud innovations in order to provide cheaper access to the cloud to entrepreneurs, and for entrepreneurs in order to be able to provide better value uh, for their clients and for their customers. So there's no point in rushing things because ultimately what BSV can do is so much greater than that. In a few years' time, we're gonna see BSV eclipse all other blockchains altogether, not just in transaction volume that it already does, but also in terms of the value that it's creating, and also in terms of the publicity that it's going to be getting from the media. So we can take our time, but that it's if we want to help the ecosystem not waste their money in the wrong places, I think we should speed up and make sure that we're providing the best education about BSV and so on. And the sooner, and this is a competitive market in the BSV space as well. The entrepreneurs would rather make their money sooner than later.
Yeah.
So although they have to be careful and cautious, and at the same time, take their time and build something that's real and very valuable, they would also want to be moving at a pace where they can make more money. So I think this is all naturally falling into place.
Yeah. In what areas of BSV do you see the most potential? Is there some more than others? Do you think there's any wrong directions people are heading in?
Well, I think micropayments is a great place to use BSV for, speaking from an entrepreneur perspective, because micropayments is an area where we can leverage a technology that's already there, and we can innovate new financial models based off of that. In terms of what ecosystems or what products we should be building is gaming is a very good use case. And the reason is because it's detached from the financial system.
Yep.
And so it's people go to great lengths to play really good games. And so gaming is a very great place. Financial systems is, we have an issue here because a lot of people who are investors or entrepreneurs in BSV are bullish about BSV and they don't want to be spending BSV, but that the financial system doesn't have a stable coin on BSV right now that I'm aware of. So
Yep.
building a stable coin on BSV is going to be a massive, huge next step. And then we could have stable coin payments, micro payments in stable coins, and a lot of integration with the financial system could take place at that point. And so I don't see much point in having integration with the financial system at this point, unless we build a stable coin with proper legal structure, that I think at that point we could have a plethora of BSV applications in the financial system come out.
Yeah, I tend to agree, and I like the fact that game environments are often sort of used to test new economies. We had things like World of Warcraft and then Second Life, and no one really cared that they used their own economic system, their own currency, because people saw it as just a game. But of course, it can expand way beyond that into the real world, and it just kind of happens organically rather than trying to force it on everybody. So yeah, I do agree. Long term, take it slowly, build real value, and there's a lot of information and a lot of changes for people to digest here, and I think it just takes time to do that. Like, you can't just change everyone's mind in the world within a couple of years, or even 10 years maybe. When I'm looking for inspiration, I often watch Unbounded Capital's videos to get that positivity back again. If ever there's a day when if I'm being a little bit down about it, I just watch one of those and I think, well, if these guys see the long term prospects, then so do I. So one thing they often talk about at Unbounded is the crypto consensus, versus micropayments in BSV. Can you explain that to us, and how you came to believe in it?
Well, at Unbounded Capital, we think that the crypto consensus says that Bitcoin or cryptocurrencies are useful because they provide uh, immutability to the ledger, security, and also censorship resistance, meaning that we can stay and work outside the boundaries of the government. And that's what we call the crypto consensus, is that we prefer to work outside the bounds of the government, although this costs us scale and we can't scale blockchains at that point to the way compared to the way we could in BSV, which is outside the crypto consensus. Our view at Unbounded Capital is that immutability is important. Security is more so done in terms of centralization or publicity of the database, and scalability is also very important, but not censorship resistance. So the censorship resistance versus scalability is where our view is different from the crypto consensus, which is the consensus view that other blockchain funds or investors are taking toward blockchain technology. And I think personally that censorship resistance could be useful, but that it is not useful enough in order to keep very inexpensive applications of blockchain from emerging. So in the crypto consensus, what the crypto consensus has let us do is come up with transaction fees that are a few dollars each.
Yeah.
And we think that if we provide, or not, we have entrepreneurs provide blockchain transactions that are less than a cent in that cost less than a cent to produce, then the crypto consensus or the censorship resistance wouldn't be as important to the entrepreneur or to the client or to the investor who would be investing in these projects. And that's what the real dilemma of a blockchain investor is in terms of crypto consensus, or what we at Unbounded Capital look at, the scalable blockchain investing.
Yeah, did you mention that you see small block sizes on other blockchains as being potentially illegal as well?
Potentially illegal?
Yeah.
Well, I think that the small block sizes is an attempt to shift mining from being a large industry play where the miners could be held responsible for their actions, and replace that with a world where miners can stay anonymous and can keep the blockchain going regardless of what happens with it. And it's an extension of the code is law kind of a movement, which I don't agree with. Now, is it illegal to operate like that? I don't know if it's illegal, but that I can imagine that in the future, if I would say a wise court will eventually rule that, you know, the founders for, or the core developers for these small block caps should allow for larger block caps, and also provide some legality means or some enforcement means onto their blockchains. I'm hoping this will happen, because what happens when you have small block sizes is that if you lose your coins, they're not recoverable, for example, and it's all outside the structure of the law. And I don't think that code is a good replacement for law. I think the people who think code is a good replacement for law, they still haven't been bitten by a lost wallet, or they still haven't been bitten by the negative influences that has on the ecosystem, or on the community itself.
Yeah.
And this is a global community that we're talking about. So um, I wouldn't know if small block sizes are illegal, but that I think there will be a point at which the courts will come down and ask ask the developers to remove this small block sizes, or to alternatively make up for small block sizes in terms of enforcement of legal decisions.
Yeah. I agree that there's definitely going to be a point where someone has to be responsible for this. You know, they've been happy to just let this go, let developers implement any code they want so far. But I think that there is going to be a point where people are not happy with that, whether it's governments, the court, or just general users. They're gonna look for some other way of redress if something bad happens. So yeah, totally agree with that one. What's the role of VCs, venture capitalists, in this space?
Well, I think if in terms of BSV, a lot of entrepreneurs who are in BSV are very smart people, and they can make businesses that run on their own without VC investments. And it's because they're building very long-term businesses. They're doing the programming on their own, and they're building products that are not very dependent on investments right now. However, I think when it comes to growth, and I think a number of portfolio companies at Unbounded Capital have gone to that stage. When it comes to growth, venture capital is very useful in order to be able to provide the capital for marketing or for growth for these companies. So I think venture capital is very important for growth, especially in this ecosystem, because there's not a lot of alternative investments coming into this ecosystem. Partly because the ecosystem is misunderstood. The other role that I see for venture capital, and I see it similar for CoinGeek or the media companies, is to provide publicity about why BSV is great and why we're investing in BSV. And so that attracts more investments that attract more public attention. And I think that's the second role, and it's not a small role to provide material like publications or videos that will encourage the population to look at BSV.
Well, hopefully there's some interested tech investors out there watching this video right now who've just seen everything you had to say and will be interested by that. What kind of investors do you focus on? Like, what's the most important audience for this?
Investors, I think for Unbounded Capital, the main important investors is people who've already invested in a blockchain fund, and that they have the capital to be able to deploy into our fund, but that they should also be open-minded and they should take the time to understand the BSV potential as opposed to consensus or the crypto consensus view with an open mind and be willing to adopt the thesis that we have and to be able to risk their money or look for outsized returns within our thesis.
That's great.
And so I think that's our view when it comes to investors. Now that said, I think there's a lot of people from outside the blockchain industry whom, if they understood the BSV view that we have, or the scalable blockchain view that we have, and if they could undo everything that they've heard about blockchain, they would be interested in investing in Unbounded Capital as well.
Yeah, it's always a challenge when you have to start from the point of getting people to unlearn everything they've learned. It's a challenge just as much for us as it is for you guys too. All right, I got one last question for you, and that is, what's your personal ambition here? Are you going to stay around with Unbounded Capital, or are you going to use it as a learning experience and hopefully branch out someday?
I'm definitely looking at Unbounded Capital as a learning experience because I figured that when it comes to learning investments, I've learned that investments is a better world for me than is entrepreneurship on its own.
Yep.
Now that said, I think Unbounded Capital is somewhere where I'm very committed to for the next at least 3 to 5 years. I don't think I'll branch out on my own because I think Unbounded Capital is doing a very great job right now. And I think it will always be better to work at a place where you're very settled in and you know that the systems are working. Now that said, if I don't know if Unbounded Capital is going to stay the way it is, but that I think I'm very happy with Unbounded Capital and I'm learning on a daily basis at Unbounded.
Excellent. Well, I hope to catch up with you and some of the guys from Unbounded pretty soon. Are you going to go to Dubai?
Yes, for the Global Blockchain Conference. Yes, I'll be in Dubai in May.
All right. Hopefully see you there in person. Okay, Sina, thank you very much for joining us today, and please feel free to come back anytime.
Thank you so much, John. I also would like to thank you for taking the time to interview me today.
Not a problem at all.
This May, in Dubai, the BSV Global Blockchain Convention will bring together communities and unveil new breakthrough technologies. You'll be ushered into a world of collaboration and innovation where you can network with hundreds of expert practitioners, pioneer thinkers, leaders, professionals, and entrepreneurs. Learn from forward-thinking brands and startups Discover functional applications that enhance end-user experiences and create value and utility. The BSV Global Blockchain Convention is your gateway to engaging with scalable on-chain solutions and building long-lasting business partnerships. Turn ideas into reality. Propel your business forward. Join us at the BSV Global Blockchain Convention, May 24 to 26 in Dubai.
Life is short. Get out and get active. Immerse yourself in sound. Play hard and taste delight. Share your moments. Live a life of style. Activate your lifestyle. Shop your favorite brands with Bitcoin SV. Activate your lifestyle with CentB today.
Bitcoin mining, Bitcoin wallet, blockchain, stablecoins, MetaNet, the evolution of money. Everybody is talking about Bitcoin today, but what exactly is it? Learn the basics from experts. Learn what Bitcoin is, how it works, and why it matters. Bitcoin 101, your ultimate guide to the fundamentals of blockchain.
Thanks for tuning in to today's episode of the Bitcoin Bridge. If you're interested in seeing more from the show, click here, and to see other great CoinGeek content, click here. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on your notifications so you don't miss any future shows on the CoinGeek channel.